afternoon to you, and good evening to you from wherever you are joining us. This is Mayuns live. Welcome to the Temple of Truth, brethren. And as you are joining us, please read beyond just the caption of the broadcast. Please read the description of the broadcast as well. Then like it. Yeah. Share it. To invite your friends and your not so friendly friends, your frenemies. Tell them all that Mayuns today and Mayuns is live. And if you have done all of that, by the way, thank you. I want to drop a little bit of a reminder, especially for our new members. So the last 1 week, we have seen the surge in the suspicion on the YouTube, where we have had over 1,000 new people who have just joined us. So if you are one of them watching this broadcast right now, you can identify yourself or don't bother, okay? But there's something you need to know, all right? I don't know how you possibly came by this page, all right? But this is Mayuns Diary Political, where we keep record of all happenings in that contraption, Nigeria, all the infractions and the people responsible for them, reminding the citizens the consequences of all these infractions on themselves. And every now and then that you push one Nigeria, you are like, indirectly, directly too, hurting yourself. But there are so many people who are yet to realize this. You see, we don't need 100% of the people to understand. We just need a sizable number of the people to understand what is wrong with this contraption. And keeping it as it is to the detriment of every one of us, whether you are rich or poor, whether you are religious or not, whether you are, old or young, or you are from the north or south, it won't matter. That is what we do on Mayuns Diary Political, a place where you can consider us as a no-holds-bar place. Political correctness doesn't really work here. We do not have any respect for the criminals in charge of Nigeria, whether they are your church members or they are your community leaders or even your family members, even if they be your papa or mama. Once they are fingered, evidently, right, in the infractions going on in that contraption, they will be heard. At the same time, we do not play religious card on Mayuns Diary Political. If you have a very thin skin, this platform may not really be for you, okay? So, understanding Nigeria, right? We realized that it is not all of you that actually wants that place to work, because it is not all of you that hates what is going on in Nigeria, right? A lot of you just don't like what is going on in Nigeria because you are not the one benefiting from it. And the moment it gets to your turn, everyone else can go to blazes. So we understand that. We also understand that a lot of you kind of love your criminals differently. You love your oppressors differently. You can disguise your biases, but on Mayuns Diary Political, it is not hard to out you. How? Because some people who joined Mayuns Diary Political thought it was just a platform to criticize the government. And therefore, those who were either in government, in government before and not anymore, and their role in what is currently happening in that contraption are not exempted, including your pastors. So you understand now. So if you are new on Mayuns Diary Political, the only way you can kind of like grow in understanding Nigeria is to approach everything you see here with an open mind, not with your biased mind. It will be very difficult for you to work it out. Tribalism, bigotry, ethnicism, religiosity, all of this nonsense that they have used, right, to keep you divided are not really like existing here. So that point made, right? The only way you can get offended, because whatever I do on Mayuns Diary Political, I always have my target and I don't miss. Do you understand? So except if you belong to the category of Nigerians lying to themselves about this disjointed contraption, right? Nothing I say on Mayuns Diary Political should offend you. Let's be clear about that. When I mention names of these criminals, whether they are your pastors or your imams or your Oba or your Obi or your Sultan or your, I don't care, right? The moment they are mentioned and you become emotional, that automatically will out you that you are just a closet, voluntary slave in that contraption. So no offense. Or if you are here to join the growing movement of clear-headed people, right, who have denounced or renounced whatever it is that they forced on us, the identity that has caused so much sort of like a crisis, so to say. Those of us who have clear heads that believes that the only solution to what everybody is complaining about, all these problems that defies all solutions and all of that, right? Those of us who believe that when we all agree, right, that it is time that this business entity, right, it is time for us to dissolve it. Or if we want to continue to be together, then we should set the conditions that everybody will understand and say, well, this is why we decided to continue as a country. Until then, everyone will continue to be a victim. Everyone will continue to be victim of this disjointed contraption, where all institutions have become so compromised and citizenship rights are no longer in existence. You may lie to yourself, right? That somehow, because that's a typical Nigerian, okay? If it doesn't happen to you, obviously maybe it's not happening. Until you become a victim, maybe all these things are not really happening. But there's one thing that is very, very clear. Until that time, right? Until that time that all of us will understand that we are not really meant to be together, no matter your theory, no matter your logic or whatever it is that a lot of you have kind of like a design. Until that time that everybody and everyone will continue to be the victims of this failed system. Everyone. The Rolokus have learned, or sort of they have mastered the art of hope. And therefore, they are the kind of people you call the Dabimusheda. Those who want you to possibly be like them. They've learned, they've sort of mastered the art, like I said, the art of coping with, all the abnormalities, legitimizing it, and in fact, enabling it with all their chest, the Ronukus. But the rest of you who have been forced, gaslighted, to somehow, to silence rather, right? You can join the rest of us who cannot be gagged, because the first victory we manage to get before we get to this level is to stop lying to ourselves. So you will stop lying to yourself sooner or later. So we have a lot of people who have different grievances. There are those, right, who have been able to amplify their grievances to the level that, it's got the national attention. And we have had those whose grievances have been heard practically online and indeed also made a strong effect. In this day and time, right, where the conventional media no longer controls the narratives, almost not controlling the narratives. One of the battles that the Nigerian criminals believe that they have lost is the control of the media or the social media. They've made several attempts to either scare people from utilizing the potential of social media to criticize and question the actions and inactions of their supposed government, right? So they lost control of that, and that is one very powerful tool that, if used very well, right? Those who claim to be so powerful, your powerful criminal leaders, those who seem to be like untouchable, right? Everybody believes that the only thing they fear most is the social media, where information travels faster than you can imagine. It is a place where they believe that if a revolution will kick off in Nigeria, it won't be televised. It will be streamed live to billions of people all over the world. That is something that still dreads them, like something they still dreads a lot. So then came this young man, very dark man, who seemed to have courted a lot of controversies. Guess what? In the rotten system where it is dog eat dog, that is what Nigeria is. It is dog eat dog, in a way that the supposed stronger animals are feeding, or sorry, they are feasting on the weaker animals, the vulnerable ones. So in that midst, you know, in this war, in this the current, reality where everybody seems to be so consumed and drowning in their own issues than to care about their neighbors. Like today, so it's so rare, right? To now have within that midst a very, very strong voice. That it's not just strong, it is actually effective. Now, consider where I started from those who consider themselves, who see themselves as very powerful. Somehow, right, despite that, the fact that you are practicing democracy in Nigeria, right, they still see themselves above that law, because Nigeria is a place where, rather than have powerful institutions, Nigeria have powerful men who are so powerful enough to actually use the state's resources to hunt those they considered as threats. Now, Nigeria is at this stage where a lot of you have different grievances. Those who are the victims of the coordinated state-sponsored terrorism of Boko Haram and Fulani terrorists and the rest of the terrorism, right? Or the terrorists in northern part of Nigeria and in the southern part of Nigeria. Those who have kind of like accepted their fate that they will never, ever be protected by the government that was supposed to protect them. They bottled the whole suffering, the agony. They buried their loved ones with no words, right, from their supposed government hope. There are those of you, right, who have realized that you were lied to go to school. Your parents invested so much in you to educate you, despite all the orders, all the wahala. You finally graduated only to still end up as dependent on them. Something that you have bottled in as well, somehow, your grievance with Nigeria. Now, we have those who have publicly, in fact, they have been killed for this same belief. They have publicly expressed their desire to, to leave Nigeria. The Biafrans especially, right? Strong, prejudice against the same contraption, the suffering, the marginalization they have suffered for over 50 years in a country that they were supposed to be equal partners. Remember, they also have their own grievances. So a lot of people have theirs, enough that, to implode and explode the contraption. But the thing is this, which is part of the division, right? Everyone wants to take his own pound of flesh, but they don't know how. And therefore, they consider the action of every group that has a stone to grind with this contraption, this, disjointed contraption. They kind of consider their action inappropriate or probably like ineffective. When the revolution now insisted for a better country, a responsive government, there were those who are also victims of that, terrible leadership that decide, they're kind of like ignored them. Their revolution is sure. You get what I mean? They're not doing it right. You are supposed to do it like this. And there were those of you who are like experts as well, advising the Biafrans, the IPOB, what they how they should have done it. They didn't do it right. They should have done it this way. Guess, right? And similarly, I know some of you currently believe that these young people who call themselves Rattel Gangs showing up physically, not just online, right, to protest what they consider their own injustice taken too far. A voice loud enough to represent them, but being taken off the airwaves, right, without any explanation. This is their own style of protesting it, right? And one day, all of them could agree. Everybody will agree. Like every group that has a stone to grind with this contraption, right? One day you agree. But until then, right? Well, let the entire system have something to worry about, as we are currently witnessing. On Friday, which is now about 4 days ago, 1, 2, 3, yeah, almost 4 days ago, should I say 4 days ago, Martins Osei, VeryDarkMan, was abducted in front of GTBank, Guaranteed Trust Bank in Gariki, Area 3, Abuja. And the first impression then was that he was abducted by the DSS, which happened to be true. Then the EFCC, right? I mean, sorry, when they released the guy they abducted there with him, who now told everybody that no, initially it was this men in black. Then they took us to the men in red. And those ones are now the ones who released me, and they are keeping him. So keeping him for what? A lot of people have shared different opinions. Those who don't like him have said that they didn't care what, I mean, they don't care what he must have done. One thing is that he should be jailed and punished. They don't care whatever it's done. Because to them, there is no way he didn't do anything, that they would just abduct him that way. Some of us have problems with the process of his supposed arrest. That's why I will use abduction, not arrest. Do you understand? But a lot of people have made up different theories. So the video he made about the EFCC, that they are so corrupt and he has evidence, he will prove it and prove it. Some said, oh, it's because of the problem, the court case he has with Mercy Chinwo, that gospel artist, that is charging him for defamation, right? Defamation of character, suing him for 2 billion naira libel damages or something like that, right? So there was a report that the court requested for his presence and issued his bench warrant, arrest bench warrant. Nobody has presented that yet. Part of the theories people are kind of like trying to develop to justify this barbarity. So initially, people said the reason why the EFCC hadn't made any form of statement is because it was weekend. Now today, Monday, in fact, yesterday, Sunday, you see, some of these friends and others of the VeryDarkMan, they've actually picked the time to bombard the bank, the EFCC office, to demand for his release, right? But nevertheless, they still kind of want to know. Maybe Monday morning, this morning, the EFCC will come out and say, oh, this is why. And I think they did come out, by the way. Oh, that they did. It was an interview granted by the supposed spokesman, the spokesperson for the EFCC, where something Oyewole or so, right? Remember that guy? Anyway, he told the BBC Pidgin, BBC News Pidgin, that the reason why they abducted VeryDarkMan in that Gestapo style was because they received numerous petitions against him. And they've invited him, but he never honored the invitation. There is no, they may produce one tomorrow. Of course, it's Nigeria. There is no court arrest bench warrant made public. There is no invitation letter or public invitation sent to him by the EFCC, nothing. So everything is still shrouded in so much secrecy, giving room to different conspiracy theorists. But for us on Mayuns Diary Political, just like, it is said that the only thing that is democratic in Nigeria, evenly distributed is the injustice in Nigeria. All right. The injustice in Nigeria spares no one. And I'll keep saying it, right? Don't wait till you become a victim, okay? And don't wait to become a victim before you speak up. All right. So this morning, we're expecting is supporters and what have you who have been closing their own bank, their accounts with GTBank as a protest.